Hi, I'm Gordy Gundaker. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor podcast.
Hi, I'm Don Martin. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor. And this thing is big. First of all, welcome to the Dirt Parlor tonight. Not only do we got a superstar late model driver, we got a former AMA flat track champion.
Right.
Been a while, but still, man, it's pretty badass having the guy that on the show with no roll cage.
Yeah, no doubt.
Probably when you talk to him a little bit more, we'll probably understand why.
Yeah.
A little bit. But Gordy goes way back with Brian. I do too. This is going to be a fun show. Brian Shirley, if you don't know, man, he's a household name.
Yep.
And what he's doing this year, he's your PDC champ, And Gordy, talk a little bit about B.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Well, first off, since Don skipped over it, we want to thank our partners first. We want to thank the great people at Nutrient Ag, Steve Martin. We want to thank Jeff Hoker with Hoker Trucking, who sponsors both Brian and myself. Hot Rod Septic, Bo Popejoy, Reed Millard with Millard Family Chapels, Bodies by Skinny, and of course Checker Custom Screen Printing Embroidery, who did get to do Shirley's PDC champion shirts. So that was pretty cool. So wish I'd have been making shirts for myself, but I got to do them for my boy over here. So Squirrel, welcome on the show. We're glad you could join us.
Yeah, no, I'm glad too. Don's been after me for a couple weeks now, and things weren't adding up for us to be able to have a night here. And luckily, tonight was the night.
Yeah. Well, you've had a hot couple of weeks here through really the months of money, which if you ever wanted to have everything kind of going your way, this would be the month to do it. And I mean, from the start you had at the beginning of the year with the fire and with all the stuff that went on, you've had to endure what most people can hardly do in 3 years, and you've had to do it pretty much in about 6 months. So, kind of talk about what the start of the year, probably how frustrating that was leading up to, winning your first PDC and, obviously almost winning this past weekend.
Yeah, I mean, 3 weeks was rough. That's no lie. Obviously, everybody could tell it was probably some teams would have probably shut down. That's a testament to Bob and Lisa Cullen, to be honest, and all our sponsors behind us. I'm not gonna lie. I called home twice. Waiting for that call for him to say, "Hey, we've had all we can handle, and we're gonna regroup and figure out what's left." But man, every time I called, that guy was just like, "Listen, I didn't raise to be a quitter, and I'm not quitting now." And he said, "You just keep trucking, and we'll truck till we have no more." And luckily, everything's, with the help of Longhorn, everybody, got us back going there at Speed Weeks. And like you said, it's been a long season, but, thankful for all the people that's been behind me and everybody that's helped us get to where we're at right now.
Brian, talk a little bit about Bob Cullen. I know Bob very well, and man, he's just such a even keel. He doesn't ever look like he gets too excited. But not only what people need to understand is he your car owner? He's also a business partner of yours. Yeah,
he has been. We're definitely looking at some new adventures together, but we were partners. In a bar that I own, but I initially took it over about 2 years now. But that was the goal, and the neat part about being, sponsored by a guy like Bob is Bob was like, "Hey, listen, we need to do some things that make sure that, your life after racing is, that you have some type of income and you're not sitting here at, 50 years old and now that racing's over, you got to go get a job." So thankful for him to help me with some business adventures that we've worked on. And honestly, we've been working on a couple more that he's been trying to get me involved in here over the next year or two. I think we'll definitely be back. We're partners for sure. I mean, listen, at the end of the day, a guy that funds this type of team and operation, you don't do that without having some type of special chemistry with them and then a bond with their family and friends and everybody around them. You just don't do that without, being good people and having good people around you.
The other thing too is you got to talk about your pops. I mean, there's when you look at Jayco, there's a guy. You got to love the V-neck. I mean, no bullshit guy, not a bullshitter. I mean, you talk about something. I mean, just tells you the way it is. And your dad is just like, I mean, your dad's gold. You know.
Yeah, he's a good dude. He's one. I always say he's one tough SOB. You know, he's old school as it gets. He's you know, he'll definitely tell you how it is. I mean, he grinds every day, works every day hard, come from nothing, and definitely put me in perspective of where, you know, the road and the path that I'm on. It all started because of him. I got my work ethic from him, and you know, it definitely couldn't be where I am without him today. I mean, it all started with him, and then hopefully here in the next few years, I've been trying to work towards, you know, paying him back for everything that he's done for me. I hope that I can take care of him, you know, for the rest of his life.
Well, and talk about too, you know, a lot of people maybe don't know your story, that you didn't always race late models. You know, you started out in a completely different realm of racing, you know, running flat track and motorcycles and all those things. And you know, obviously the guys around the racetrack, we all know that, but I don't think a lot of people know that background of you. You know, kind of start, you know, what was that, you know, what age did you start racing and what did you start racing in?
You know, I was about 12 years old. I was, you know, my dad, going back to my dad, he worked for a company that he worked a lot of hours, you know, worked for them, made them, you know, made him who he was. And they looked after me while he was working, because he was like the main foreman for that company. And I was lucky enough to go stay with one of the family members. You know, I stayed with the company's, one of their brothers and sisters. They had kids, so, and they were my age, and they actually raced motorcycles, and I had just been riding motorcycles my whole life. And then it just, as I started hanging out with them at night, because my dad was working all the time, their dad asked my dad, he said, "Hey man, we're going to these races on the weekends." You know, he's like, "Hey, Brian's always here with us and going with us, you know, let's buy him a bike and let him start racing too." So that was the Williams family. They raised me for a while my dad was, you know, getting his feet wet working. You know, like I said, he worked for them. They helped us a lot. And my dad went and bought my first dirt bike. And then, man, it just went from there. We went that first year, and it was kind of crazy because we were racing a little bit, not doing anything crazy. And then I won my first race at the end of the year there, and I thought I was a bad sumbitch. I went out the next week and broke my damn arm, and that's what you get for thinking you was a bad sumbitch. You know, it showed you who, you know, racing's not always easy. So I broke my arm. I was so disappointed. You know, at 12 years old, I was like, I just won my first race, and then now I'm hurt. But we worked at getting, you know, all the motorcycles and stuff ready for the next year, and then, man, it was just like a domino effect. We started out the next year, went to Daytona, won down there, and then it was just like boom, boom, boom. We just kept winning, and every class we, you know, from 125, 250s, 500s. Yeah, I mean, it was crazy, man. I'm telling you, like, once I figured out how to win, we just kept winning, and, you know, we won, I think, I want to say 7 or 8, you know, district championships. I won 3 national championships. So it was, you know, it was a good run. Like, I was pumped, and that's where I thought my life was going to go and be heading to. But, you know, God always has a weird way of showing which way your life's going to go. And I was fortunate enough to, you know, when I got hurt and decided to change, you know, directions of where, you know, racing motorcycles, that, you know, I was able to find racing cars.
Brian, I got to ask you, man, what's it like to be on a flat track like a motorcycle at like the Springfield Mile?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Awesome.
Yeah, listen, I'm telling you, it's I've never done drugs, but it's got to be what freaking doing heroin or fucking cocaine. You know what I mean? It's listen, I'm just telling you, there's nothing crazier as far as feeling like it's just you and the machine, and you're just on the ragged edge. I mean, there's just no no better feeling. I'd say it's why guys ride motorcycles down the road. You know what I mean? It's just a feeling you have when you're on that bike, and then you're doing 130, 140 mile an hour. I went to the fair yesterday. My daughter had a cheer thing out there, so I was out there while they were running the ARCA cars, and I was right by there. So I looked over and looked at my buddy Kelly to see where he was. And I was like, man, these guys are racing cars around here. And I said, I used to go around here at 130, 140 wide open. We'd smoke their asses. They wouldn't even have a chance. So
I couldn't imagine going that fast on a bike around the mile. I mean,
man, I'm telling you, like a day like yesterday, it rained in the morning, and it had that little bit of, like, you know, tacked up how it is when it in the beginning of the night of a car race. When it's like that out there, you never lift. I mean, it's just wide open. Coolest thing you'll ever do.
I'm telling you, you know, it's funny. We were going to have, back when we had the half mile at Tri-City, we brought in the AMA guys and Chris Carr come out there to do a test session about a week or two before. They just were kind of coming through, and so we prepped the racetrack and got it ready. And you know, there's, mind you, at the time we didn't have the racetrack ready for the AMA guys, so there's no hay bales, nothing like that's up. And dude, he's up there by the fence, just absolutely shitting and getting. And I remember I went and stood in the flag stand when he come by. I mean, just tucked in, just ripping on this. And I'm like, this guy's out of control. Like, this is like like I thought what we did was, well, I'm like, this is way crazier than what we do, but. Dude, it's cool. Honestly, it is cool shit to watch. I watch it on Flow all the time, all the flat track races. I don't know if you saw, they had them a couple weeks ago at Wheatland.
Yeah.
And it was, they had a 3-wide finish, like right at the line. It was badass. So, yeah, it was. It's pretty crazy. We were supposed to have them at Tri-City earlier this year. We got rained out.
Yeah, I've been keeping up a little bit with them. I don't keep up with, like, what I do anymore because they've changed so much. You know, they've tried to make it better and do things that are different than like what it was when I was there. So I don't watch it as much as what I used to. But I definitely watched, like the other day they were at Peoria. I watched when they was at Wheatland and stuff like that. So I keep up with it a little bit.
And then we go into late model racing. And I remember the first car, was it a GRT car, your first late mile?
Yep, first late mile. It was like 15 years old.
I remember we talked about this one time, and I can't remember, what'd you pay for that thing?
I paid, listen.
This is going to be funny.
It is funny because I'm telling you, I was looking through these ads and doing all this stuff, and I seen this guy said, hey, complete late mile, turnkey, race ready, 10 grand. Like, man, I might be able to come up with 10 grand. So I was like, I'll call this guy. See what he's like, yeah, turnkey, start right up. I'm like, all right. It's, you know, it's half-ass in the middle of winter too. So he's like, come on out. And he's like, I'll show it to you. And I'm like, all right. So I come out, and it, like I said, it's not like dead winter or nothing, but it's fall, cold. I'm like, man, where's this car at? I don't see him. You don't have a shop, nothing. I'm like, where's this car at? He's like, it's over here. He's like, well, I was like, where? He's like, it's over here in these weeds. I was like, in these weeds? I was like, gosh, damn. So I'm thinking this in my mind. I'm like, this guy's fucking crazy. You know what I mean? Turnkey, late model, freaking, hey. He's like, I thought said this thing ran. Oh, he said it will. He said, I'll start it right up right now. I was like, yeah, right. Listen, he went over there and fired it right up. I was like, oh my God. I'm telling you, we had to pull it out of the weeds. When I decided, I was like, I don't know. I don't even know what made me truthfully say that it was the only thing I could afford, to be honest. It was like, man, if I'm going to try and get into late model racing, it was as cheap as could be. And you know, the best part is out of all this, Gordy actually has some ties to it, because when I ended up, I was like, all right, I'll get this late model. I ended up buying, because it ended up having a steel block motor in it. So we knew, you know, you couldn't use that trying to race, you know, with the other guys. So I actually ended up buying an old 406 that his dad had from his old Pro Power. And I think I bought that thing for like $6,000. So I ended up getting this 406 sold this other, the steel block motor to help pay for that. And then at that time, I literally sold the car that I was driving around to get around. I sold that for 10 grand, and that's how I bought that car.
No shit. That's awesome.
That's crazy.
Dang, OKG's 406. Back in the day, Dad, I mean, mind you, like motor program was so different back then, but Dad, when they used to go run the mile, he wouldn't run any other motor at the mile but his little 355. And it was a badass Pro Power motor that he had. And he's like, why would you not just put a bigger motor in it? He said, because I have all this corner speed. He said, well, that way when all them guys go down there and they pussy out and they lift, he said, I just have all the corner speed because I'm going to go race 2 lanes higher than them. And he would go up there and do it, I mean, over and over again. I watched him run second to Lanigan the one year at the mile by like half a car. They had a yellow with 3 to go or he was going to smoke him. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's why I did not know that.
Yep. Yeah. And that Darren Miller, when he won the mile the year he won, he run with the 355 too.
Yep.
Them guys would always run them. I never thought of it. I was always like, give me the biggest, baddest one you could get. But yeah, old KG, it was, we were just getting started and it was, that was all we could afford. We just tried to put it all together the cheapest way we could. And luckily it all worked out.
What year was that?
That would have been about 2002. 2002. Gotcha. I got to race with your dad a little bit. I don't remember vaguely when he decided to hang it up completely, but I definitely remember racing against him a little bit.
Yeah. Well, he ran a little bit in 04. He got hurt in 02. That was the year he had his motorcycle accident. And then he came back in 03 and raced a small schedule and then ran just a little bit of 04 and then hung it up because he was so mad he couldn't hardly climb in and out of the race car. He was like, I can't do this shit the way I want to, so I'm done with it.
Yep. He had a whole part of the start.
Yeah.
In the first track championship, Macon Speedway, right?
Yep. Yeah, we went out that next year and ran around Macon, Godfrey. We ran a little Farmer City. I mean, Godfrey. Farmer City was like kind of the, you went to Farmer City when you wanted to know how good you were getting, because I mean at that time, heck, they had 40, 45 cars a night, and it was so tough. I mean, heck, I'd barely go there and run the B main, barely make. Sometimes I'd even make it in my first year. So like Macon, Godfrey, places like that, they were just a little bit, they didn't have like Roger Long, Joe Ross Jr. There was just a lot of good people up at Farmer City. So once we started getting our feet wet, we knew we needed to go over there at time or two and know, where the needle was or how well we were running. Because, we were lucky enough to win a couple races that year at Macon, and we won a couple races at Godfrey and stuff. So, it wasn't like we were bad. We just, like anything, you got to venture out a little bit to see where you stand.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and it's funny for me, like, I think back to those days. So that was when I was just, heck, 2002, I was 10 years old. But I remember those days, I'm telling you, almost better than I remember the last 7 years of going racing. And I think it's just because I loved it so much, watching Dad race. Like I can remember going to all of those racetracks. I mean, I traveled with Dad for forever. I used to do speed weeks every year. I'd miss school for 2-3 weeks at a time and go racing down at speed weeks with Dad, and getting to watch him and Donnie Moran and Chubb Frank and Scrub and all those guys. I mean, every night just absolutely get it on. And I think back to it all the time, how much I loved watching them race, which is why I do it. But I think I'm telling you, I obviously it's like I have a history of knowing all these older guys, but it's like I'm like, man, I enjoyed that. I think almost more than what I do now. Like at times, so looking back at it, I'm like, I loved going to that stuff and seeing some of those things, and that was like the most nostalgic era I feel like of late model racing, was that late '90s, early 2000s. Like it couldn't get any better.
I can still remember like going to Fairbury and seeing like Gary May.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Watching Gary May and Roger Long as teammates in the Tamco cars, know?
Oh yeah.
I mean, they were badass, dude.
Badass, dude. I'm telling you, Weaver was there. I mean, really, Farmer City, Fairbury, stuff like that. I mean, you went to them places and man, they had some damn good race car drivers.
Yeah.
And then 2012 is kind of the year you kind of like when your first summer nationals.
Yeah. Yep.
Everything was kind of building up towards then. I mean, every year I was looking at your numbers, like every year it was like you'd seen going from 4 wins, 6 wins, 10, 12. And then in 2012, of course, you won the Summer Nationals. And it just, from then on, it just seemed, and that's only been 10 years ago, a decade ago. And it just looks like your career has just been like, I mean, I still remember watching you win the Knoxville Nationals. I mean, it was a story that nobody even knew he was winning the race.
Yeah. That was,
you're the first one to go on the pitch, you come out, everybody's thinking you're lap car, and you're not a lap car.
Right, yeah.
I mean, that had to be a crazy night.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. That was something like I always talk about it being something I think just, it was just my night. I don't feel like I truly understood, what really went on as far as race cars, setup, things like that. So I think, at that time you could just, you just got in it and drove. And luckily that night I was able to, beat them all. And it took a lot longer to understand. Like, I'm not disappointed that God let me have that race, but it definitely, it kind of set everything way higher than it should get, where expectations should be, for me and just a guy racing on his own, trying to do it. It takes a lot more to truly understand every aspect of winning these crown jewels than I had any clue about when I won that race.
Yeah. And now you got to talk about the PDC. We have to talk about it. If you go from Knoxville, you got to go right into the PDC, because watching you, the emotion is like you're one of my best friends. And dude, even I was teary-eyed.
Yeah, it was cool.
Because my daughter was there. She loves you so much.
Oh yeah.
And it just, I don't know, it's for our family, and I'm sure Gordy felt the same way. You've watched this for a long period of time. Anybody that knows Brian Shirley, this was way overdue. And I think the entire place was like electric for you.
Yeah. The fans were, I couldn't even thank the fans so much.
Because I know that Gordy just thinks that place is crazy as it is.
Yeah.
And qualifying, the intensity for the week, it's just out of control.
Yeah. And that, and it just, I was talking to a couple people, and, I've been fortunate. I've ran second at a lot of these big races. I ran second at, Wheatland to Scott. I've ran second to, the USA Nationals to, Brandon. I've ran second to, the Pittsburgher 100 to Josh. I mean, I've been close, and just not truly, just not close enough, and so you always wonder. I mean, I was happy that he was going to win 1, but, 2, I feel like at least it's hard to win 2. So the fact that maybe I won 2, maybe I'll get lucky enough to maybe win 1 more before I decide to hang it up.
Well, I think me and Gordy would bet on you winning more than 2.
Well, and it's, it's crazy too, because even outside of the races you've ran second in, like, you've been leading those races. You've had bad luck at some of those races. And I'm sure over your career, it's like you probably sit there and wonder, like, man, am I ever gonna do this again? Like, how do I kick this door down? Because, it seems like every time it's whether, something stupid happens or, you shoot yourself in the foot in some kind of way, just those things happen. It's racing. And then, you think, man, if I'd have done this a little bit differently, would I have won it? And, but to kind of persevere through all of that, and come out on top this year, mind you, it's probably one of the best years to do it because you get all the lap money right on top of it. So, so maybe that was a little oversight that was like, hey, this makes up for them other couple 2 or 3 that I've given away, because at the end of the day, hell, you walked out of there what $80 plus $1,000. So I mean, it can't be it was worth the wait, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely was. I mean, in life, Gordy, life kicks you in the ass and you sometimes beat you down, and you just got to keep fighting, man. Some days you wonder if it's all worth it and everything. And then that's what that night just it just proved that all, doing the right things, walking the line and staying on the, the true path to, success and being a good person and just doing things that not cutting corners and things like that. You wonder, like, is things ever going to go, maybe, sometimes you start to think, am I not doing something right? Or maybe I'm not a good person. I don't know. I mean, it's like you start questioning yourself, like why the good Lord doesn't let, something happen for you. And then, like the other night, it just you don't understand it, but you understand it emotionally, why he does what he does, and that's what that night was. Like, it was just like, what? It was like what you just said, all the hard work, everything that I've went through, all the trial and errors of, the stuff with, my family and my wife and all the things we go through just to go racing and stuff like that. It was just, I mean, obviously you guys watched it. It just finally fucking let loose.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was a perfect time for it.
Yeah. Yeah. It really was, between Florida. I mean, I'm telling you, Florida, I don't wish that on nobody. And so that's really what it was. Like, I feel like I've worked so hard to make sure the preparation and everything can happen for the opportunity to be in the right spot. And, that's what it showed, that, hey, don't short yourself, just keep working hard, keep your head down. And, eventually you'll understand why, things happen for why they, for the reasons why they happen.
Yeah.
Talk about your crew guys a little bit. I mean, you got a couple of guys, a couple of unsung heroes. We've been around you now a little bit, and
yeah,
it's not like you got this crew chief, or Robert Burrows, or somebody hanging around in Andy Durham. I mean, you've pretty much have. Am I right? You pretty much have groomed these two.
Yeah, I mean, the tough part about racing in today's era is guys like me and Gordy. We don't have people. Me, Gordy, Fager, guys, Bronson. We don't have people. Like, we have great crew guys. Listen, Cam and Anthony, they've done me a great job. One thing they've done a great job of is working hard and doing things the way I want it, but they don't have the experience of understanding the racetrack, the race car, the way it looks. Hey, this is why, maybe you've seen why we were not, the car didn't look right. The attitude was too high in the front end. Like, people like Bob Pierce or, Anthony Burrows or Jason Durham, like, it's just hard because they're so thin. There's not enough of them, and there's so many racers. So you got two options. You either keep trying or you give up. And, man, it's just, once you start racing, it ain't in your DNA to give up, So we may not have it as good as everybody else, but it's like when Gordy wins, you see when Gordy wins them races. It's such a feeling of accomplishment because we did it different than everybody else.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing. It's obviously why we've been as good at buddies. A lot of people don't know it, but hell, when I was the first year I ran the Summer Nationals, I'm telling you, I wore the trailer out at Shirley's hauler. I mean, I was over there damn near every night asking questions, shit he probably shouldn't have been answering, but just because I knew he had experience in stuff, and every time I was like, hey, how, do you ever do this, or do you ever try this? He always has an answer for me and always willing to help, which is, obviously, like I said, it's why we race good together, why we've always been good buddies. But it's cool to have guys, because you realize you have a respect for them already before you even get on the racetrack with them, because you know how they get to the racetrack. You know what they do during the week to prepare, that you're driving the rig down the road, you're getting home at 4 a.m. and you still got to work during the week, and then you got to work at the shop all night. Some of the, I think some of that goes, out of sight to, I would say, the people who watch racing, the people who get on social media and stuff and bash a lot of us about whatever we might say, or whatever it may be. And, I think if they ever raced one full month with us in our shoes, they'd go, fuck, this is way harder than I thought.
I'm not even going there, man.
And so, but it's, but it's fun to see, I broke a motor 13 laps into the PDC, and all I went back there and watched on the big screen, and hell, I was probably just as excited as this crew guys were, because, I've known we sat there Friday night and we're talking about it long before the race even happened. And, it was awesome to see you to have that moment for just your entirety, for your family, for Bob Cullen and Lisa and all of them who have helped you get here. And it was, it was a breath of fresh air, truly, because don't get me wrong, I love watching, it's cool when Sheppy wins and it's cool when Bobby wins, but fuck, they do it every night. So it's like, it's fun to see somebody else get one of these that deserves it, and you did everything right that entire night. People don't understand that you still got to be lucky even on those nights when you're as good as you are. But when Bob, I think I was either Bobby or Sheppy, somebody got to you and a yellow comes out for you, and instead of getting raced up and throwing it all out the window like you might have done 10 years ago, you settled right back in and you drove off and you win the thing. And so it was just, I don't know, it was cool for me just to kind of get to sit back, and not that I wanted to be sitting back, on the outside of the racetrack watching it, but it was awesome to watch it. And it was, and like I said, I've always appreciated you for always helping me in any way possible. It's always been fun, and it's, when we get to race together and stuff, I don't know if I can count on my hand the amount of times me and Squirrel have hit, and we've raced hundreds of races together. There's not many guys that can say that, at the end of the day.
Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, luckily, I don't think anybody goes out there trying to really wreck anybody, but, for the most part, definitely me and you, it's not been many that we've had a couple run-ins, but hopefully we don't jinx ourselves and I door you.
Yeah, no shit.
I give you the old door or something up here. We are racing Granite in a couple weeks. So I guess I'll get my sorry in now. Hey.
Yeah, right. We'll just go ahead and knock it out of the way. I do tell, this is one of the craziest stories. I know you'll remember this like yesterday, but I have to tell it because it sticks in my memory to this day. So we're at Shady Hill out in the middle of nowhere. And Squirrel's leading the feature. Me and Moyer are racing for second, right behind him. And we catch this poor lap car who is just has no purpose of being on this racetrack, to be completely honest. And we leave off at 2. And this lap car is in the infield, practically going down the straightaway. And Big R is sticking down there, getting in at 3, and he's waving at the lap car to like get off the racetrack. And so instead of making the left, this guy makes a straight beeline right. The exit ramp goes off into 3, turns right, and Squirrel hits him just as flush as he can, and sends this poor guy flipping down the exit ramp. Squirrel shit's wadded up. He's crashed out, and so we're sitting there for red. And mind you, Shady Hill was probably not a place we should have been racing at that point. And so this guy's laying upside down. They get over there, but he's laid in like a soft spot, and they can't push him over with like a bunch of guys, so they grab this poor tow truck, and this tow truck's got to be from 1970, so they hook the chain up to this guy, and this thing starts to go, and it won't pull it for nothing. And they're pulling, and all it's doing is rocking this poor guy's race car over, and he's just landing back on the roof, and he's still laying in there, mind you. He's just laying in there taking this beating. I bet he laid in there 15 minutes easily.
Oh yeah.
And they finally got it up enough that they got all the guys on the other side to push this thing over. And I'm telling you, that memory, I can still see it just clear as day. And when they crash, Big R, just sticks go flying in the air.
Yeah, he was mad. I was mad too. That night did suck.
Oh yeah, it wasn't funny for you. It really wasn't funny at all. But like looking back at it, I'm like, what a circus we were doing at that point. And it was, oh God, it was funny. I'll never forget that until, literally till the day I die. I guarantee it. Like that memory, for whatever reason, just sticks with me all the time.
Oh yeah, and that old guy, old boy, he come over. He felt so bad. And he had a whole, like you said, it was a hunk of junk race car. I mean, he really shouldn't have been out there, but hell, more power to him. It's something to laugh about now.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
Well, now let's talk a little bit about last weekend. You almost got another one. As a matter of fact, even Bobby said one more lap.
Yeah.
I don't think I could have held Brian off to win that one. I mean, plus would have been great, man, for you to win Hoker's race, of course, you know. I know you gave it everything you had, you know. But that racetrack's pretty damn good. That's a hell of an event.
Yeah, it's a really cool event. It's, you know, Hoker and you know, the Kai family are making it really awesome. You know, that's 2 years in a row that the race has been, you know, spectacular. You know, we was lucky enough to, you know, go back to back and win both of them last year. So that was really cool. But yeah, like you said, being, you know, Hoker's, you know, one of Hoker's guys, it would have been cool to win it for him. But, you know, unfortunately in this game, you know, the race is 60, not 61. So I'm good with it. You know, I was glad that we put up a fight and was able to rebound because we qualified bad and didn't put ourselves in a good position. And that's really where it started. We needed to not start, you know, as far back and, you know, maybe the outcome would have been different. But unfortunately, we did the best we could that night, and second was as good as it was.
Yeah.
Gordy's thinking you should have moved him.
Yeah, I know. Maybe, you know, maybe you should have, maybe you shouldn't. I don't know. I'll leave that one for another day.
I don't think anybody would have been too mad about it. I think that you would have got some more fans out of it. I'd have been printing more T-shirts for sure this week.
What do you think JD was thinking?
Yeah, if JD was been in that car, they would have went off a turn 4.
Yeah, no, I know it's a tough deal, but you know, so far everything I got, you know, we got a race for the rest of the year, and everything's been okay. So. That's one thing about Bobby. They either love him or they don't love him, and there's no side. There ain't no in between. And unfortunately, just one of those deals that I just ain't built that way. So we'll get him next time.
No, you're not. The other thing is, what do you know about Arrowhead? You know, what do you know about the place you're going this week in Oklahoma? Anything?
Just a little bit. I was lucky when we went down to Louisiana last year. I forget what that racetrack was called. We go back there somewhere. I forget what it's called. But when we were heading down to Louisiana last year to race, I stopped in there the night before and tested at Arrowhead. And man, it was really, really nice. It was probably one of the nicest, you know, it's got a great vicinity, beautiful. I mean, pavement, you know, pavement rows in between the grass. I mean, it's a top flight vicinity. I don't know who owns it, but, me and Bishop last year went down there and tested on our way down. Like I said, Louisiana, we were going somewhere in Louisiana to race, and I was able to, you know, at least spend the night. So I got a little bit. I ain't saying I got, you know, any type of experience racing, but I definitely have been on the track.
Yeah. Well, and even those few laps, you know, just to have a notebook at all, you know, that's a big thing going in there, knowing your gearing situation's right, just having some kind of grasp. Kind of talk about that. I want to veer off of just that path, but talk about what it takes to keep a note section, to, you know, what we do every night, you know, to build our notebooks, and what you do after each race to kind of, you know, after each night you probably settle down for 20 minutes and then go back in and take your notes. You know, talk to and tell the people kind of what that process is for you.
Yeah, for me, I don't go back in that night just because obviously most of the time we're leaving and I got to drive the truck. So you ain't getting time to reflect. And I like you said, I like to wind down, think about how, you know, what went on, how the groove changed, what I could have done to do the car better, or what could I have done to make the car better. So normally the next day when I'm doing, you know, the shocks, dynoing, because the next day I'll go through and spring smash all the shocks and springs, make sure nothing had moved through the race, re-dyno the shocks and stuff. So as I'm making them notes, I'll be putting them down in the notes from the night before to help me make sure that I'm making, hopefully the best decisions that you can for the next time you go back.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's, and I would say probably that's where a lot of guys miss the boat. I would say growing up, I had a kid a couple weeks ago. We were somewhere. He asked me, he said, "Hey, what should I do to kind of help myself as I'm progressing here?" I said, "Dude, just take notes. Like everything you do is notes. Like at the end of the day, you have to make sure that when you go back to that same racetrack that you have, a section of notes that say, what you may or did, like that you did and what you think you could have done better. That way you're not just starting back at square one. I know I'm guilty of it. There's definitely been nights I've had terrible nights and I was just like, I'm not even writing these down. And a lot of times I get back to those and go, God, I should have wrote that down so I don't do that shit again, and it's easy to do because we all want to try stuff. We all want to do different things. And, we don't always want to, which is kind of crazy because most times you always end up back on your baseline. That's usually your best. As soon as you get far off into left field and trying things is usually when you end up screwed up. And it hurts you way more than it could ever help you because you don't know what you even have. So it's, it's really intricate. It's cool to see, obviously we all go and visit with other racers and stuff, but to see the different styles of guys and how they go about taking their notes and what they do is pretty cool to me. I think it's just part of, me enjoying that part of it so much, but, watching guys and how they really go about their businesses, you pick up on a lot of things, especially when you're younger, and talking to guys who have done this a long time.
Yeah, listen, you are right. Like notes are the most important thing you can do. I see every year when we go back to a race, I see that I choose to get more in detail every year, and then I kick myself in the ass from the year before being like, come on, dummy, why didn't you write this down? Why didn't, so every year, and I still do it old school. I know a lot of people have all switched to, using a laptop, but I'm still old school on just writing everything down and putting it in, and obviously in a itemized notebook. But man, every year when I open up my notebook to go back, I always get mad about something that I didn't write. So it's like every year I keep learning, and it keeps getting more and more in depth of detail. And, what you're talking about of baseline isn't wrong. Like talking about PDC, when I went there, I had been changing my setup a little bit from earlier in the year. Just, little things change. You feel like you get a little something, so you kind of stick with it. And I had changed my setup a little bit of my baseline, just because we had been running a little better. Things have been going good. But I went into the flow race with what I had been doing maybe just the last couple weeks. And I was like, all right, I'm going to start out here because we've been having a little bit of success with that. And then I didn't start out with the way I would have won the summer national race. And so we had that bad night at the flow night, and I don't even remember. We didn't do very good. And then I was like, you know what? We got a good set of notes. Let's just put it back the way it was. And then I went and won that preliminary night exactly how I won the summer national race.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how it goes too. It's crazy how that works. And sometimes you almost outsmart yourself because you think you're getting better throughout the year, and finding something. But when you go to a place, especially a place like Fairbury, that is so different than most places we go. And, you always end up back to what, you're like, oh shit, I just need to go back to this. I did it last year at the PDC. I unloaded on something I don't ever really do and was terrible all weekend. And then finally for the showdown race, I was like, let's just put everything back to the way it was. And I drove right up through there, and I'm like, well, that's what you get for thinking you're smarter than you really are. That's where it lays out. But, it's, and especially in this game, this racing stuff, people don't understand how close we all really are. At the end of the day, we are within thousands of each other sometimes in qualifying, where you look up from first to 10th is a 10th. Like that is the smallest amount which you could think, it's a small bobble here, or it's one little change over here that you didn't do or you didn't think you should do, from being on the front row of a heat race to being in the second or third row of a heat race, which completely changes the trajectory of your night. You just, like you just said, if you start 6th in that race instead of 11th, you might just roll on by there and win that deal with 15 to go. So, it really is crazy how it all, especially nowadays with how, pretty much we can all just buy everything that everybody has. We all have a lot of the same stuff. A lot of guys are working with one shock guy, but that shock guy helps 10, and you go to a different guy and he's helping 10. And, so everybody's bouncing off, and so we're all buying the same packages. So it's made the racing that much harder to really even win any of these races, let alone a crown jewel.
For sure. I mean, listen, you're right. Like, that was what was tough, like in speed weeks too. And even now, like even I think last week, I mean, heck, 3rd through maybe 10th or 11th in qualifying, everybody did like, just say a 13.5, but it was a 13.50 got you front row of the heat, and a 13.59 got you freaking third row inside. It's like and that's how speed weeks is. Like everybody can hit almost that exact same 10th, and it's just the hundredths of a thousandth that's separating us from, having a good night and having a bad night. I mean, it's crazy that it happens that way, but luck plays a more part of racing in today's race than anything, just because of what you said. We're all so similar, on packages. It would be crazy if they actually was like, here, what spring package does 20 of these drivers all have on? And I'd almost say 18 of them have the same spring package on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And everybody has their own little tweaks, but I'm telling you, it's way more than people really think. Like I don't want to say we're boxed in anymore, because I don't think that's the right word, but the packages we all have they all work. Those spring combinations and stuff work for everybody, and you just tweak on them a little bit, and you're changing your numbers a little bit here and there, but it really is, and it's made it so hard. It's a completely different style of racing than what 5 years ago was, because I mean, heck, I know that black diamond car I had was a complete different package than anybody else had. And I don't think it could keep up with what it's doing today. But that you just don't see that anymore. Nobody's chop cut rebuilding their own race cars anymore. But for one, you don't have enough time to do it. And two, it's just, you can buy something straight off the lot now, buy it out and take off. Yeah. So,
and that was one of the things I wanted to talk about with both of you guys. There's just so much, I hear from everybody, how many races you guys have, the help. It's tough to have the help. There's too many races. And then we hear your story, you're driving the truck, don't have a crew chief, got the wife, got the kids, got the businesses. I mean, Brian, on an ideal schedule, how many races would you say is ideal for me? Do you want to race 100 times?
No, I don't. I mean, I'm trying to do what I'm doing right now, just to, at the end for me right now, like I'm racing because it's an income, and then I have the businesses that I have that it's an income. So I get to use the money that I use from racing, or say one of my other businesses, to try and invest in something else. So, it's kind of like saying you're double dipping, but, I'm working for it. And so you don't always get two incomes to help try and offset some side gigs. So for right now, me and Bob, we've talked about, obviously long-term goal, where we're going and where we're heading. And he knows I don't want to race, 100. Right now I look today, we're at 85 and we're only in August,
That's what I was getting to.
Yeah. That's a lot. And I definitely don't want to race like that. I probably say another 4 years, maybe, because there'll be a time, I think, trying to just build this team up for Bob and get it to where, if Carson decides what he's going to do after, we see where he is with baseball and everything,
Sure.
then Bob will have, obviously a national team set up, ready to go for Carson to, take over someday. So, and Bob said, hey, listen, you want to race, here and there, whatever, he's like, you could race like that for the rest of your life if you want. You want to go to Farmer City on a Friday night, and I don't know that I'll just completely get out of racing in 4 or 5 years, but it definitely be where I take a little more time for myself. I mean, right now you're right. Like, I mean, I'm talking to you guys. I'm waiting to get off so I can go clean the animal pen, and I just got done mowing the grass, and it just doesn't stop, when you're trying to make sure that everything needs to get done, that needs to get done for us to leave on, we got to leave Wednesday night, to go to Oklahoma. And then the kids, they're school back now. My daughter's a cheerleader, Briar will start or basketball or, all those things. So it's like yesterday, you get home at 4 a.m, you get up to go to your daughter's cheer deal at the fair, and you just got to keep moving until you can't move anymore.
And that's the other thing, man. I mean, for both of you, I'm the same way, but with you being on the road as much as you are, and the sacrifices to be out there, that you're missing some of these opportunities of watching the cheerleading and watching, Briar, make a dunk or something. I mean, I'm just saying, it's just, and I know you love basketball as much as anybody, dude. Me and this guy, we've had some fun times in the truck watching LeBron in the Cab days.
Oh yeah.
And but I'm telling you now, do not eat his Oreo birthday cake cookies.
They don't even make the
one
cookies
night.
now.
This guy gets out of the race uniform, and he knows when we're talking about Eldora. He gets out, he pours himself a nice glass of milk when it's over with, and looks in there, and he loved to put these nice Oreo cookies in the fridge, and he reaches in there, and they're gone. Big Don got into him, like that. And, man, dude, it ruined the whole night. He wouldn't even talk to me. He wouldn't even talk to me for a couple hours. Like, every time he looked at me, he said, I can't believe you ate my goddamn Oreo.
Hey, listen, I
was like, I love
now.
you. And the other thing is, if you ever go on the road with him, you better like Captain Crunch. We still doing the Captain Crunch?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we don't do it as much, but...
We're creatures of habit. We can't help ourselves.
We've had some great times on the road, brother.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
singing Titanium by Sia going down the road.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we've had good times.
Yeah. And you got to have, and honestly, that's what makes all the racing nights and all the shitty nights and all that stuff worth it, is you build up all these memories and things that, you won't ever get to make, anywhere else. And it's why we love doing it. Obviously it's an absolute sacrifice to travel. I mean, hell, I've barely raced 30 times this year, and, it's hard for me to get away from my business and stuff, but even at that point, you're still giving up so much. I couldn't imagine, running 80, 90, 100 times, what your families endure, and they take on, how much weight they take on their shoulders for you. It's the reason we love doing what we're doing, because honestly, we feel like, we're going out trying to make a living and trying to make some extra money to make sure that, whenever they want to do whatever they want to do, they can. That's why we do it.
Yep. Yeah, that's the end goal. I'm fortunate. I do live on the same compound with, me and my dad share 10 acres. So he's, I know I always got him to look after, my wife and kids. So that's a big plus. And then, when I'm not here, he's always keeping the place up to snuff. And like today, he actually left, I think, for Wyoming or something. So I kind of, once in a blue moon, I get in there and repay him and mow the yard. I mow it once, he mows it 100. So it's always nice to feel like I can try and help out when I'm home. But my wife, same as what you said, like, I wouldn't be able to do any of it without her and the sacrifices that, she makes, for me to be able to live this life. I mean, you're gone. I added up the other day, I'm gone, I think it was 220 days last year. You know, that's a lot of days to be gone. So, you know, very fortunate and not disappointed where it is. You know, that's the life we chose. But it definitely takes a lot out of everybody for me to get the one that benefits most of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, Brian, I know you mentioned you got to go and stuff. And
yeah, I got to pick up my kids.
One of the reasons Gordy and I started this one of the reasons me and Gordy started this gig is just because of the stories we just heard tonight, man. I mean, that's really what it's all about, is the people at home getting to see a different side of you that they're, you know, not used to seeing. They really get to see the asshole you are.
That's right. Hey, listen, I was gonna come over here and show you my damn
chickens.
Yeah. We got these goats.
Here you go.
They're all hiding right now because they know I'm getting ready to come in their pen and get them. Yeah, let's see if I can.
He's a cockfighter.
Yeah, let me see if I can turn it around. I got to figure out how to turn this damn thing around. Do you hear that damn turkey? I don't know how you turn it around, but we're gonna.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Then you got the damn turkeys right there, fucking stomping at the goddamn bit, and these damn goats here. That's like a miniature bull right there, boy. No. Say, what the hell?
Smile, buddy. You're on national TV.
That's right. Yeah, they don't even realize they're top dogs right now.
Oh man.
Yeah, they stay out there. They're my wife's damn dog. We got one dog, but.
You know, I remember when you first got that, you made it sound like she wanted him and stuff, but I think you're enjoying it as much as she is.
Yeah, it's all right. Freaking, it's not like it's not bad. It's just, hell, I got enough shit to do. So let's add freaking, 6 goats and 3 turkeys and 20 fucking chickens and, just
one more thing to feed.
Well, yeah, and then she follows Rachel now, and she, sees her and JD with these damn cows, and I'm like, holy Jesus. So, and then Kyle just got some damn cows, and it's like, next thing you know, that's what she's trying to convince me to get these damn mini cows. I'm like, no, not right now.
So if we don't have the Dirty Dollar, we got the Dirty Dollar Ranch. What are we calling this now?
Oh man, we're just a little bit, just got a few farm pets that keep her happy, and it ain't really nothing too crazy. It'd be
the Squirrel's Nest.
Yeah, we're a long ways away from the Dirty Ranch. I mean, JD's got some badass shit going on there, so
yeah,
we're not even going to compare to his outfit. But I know my wife watches Rachel's stuff all the time, and boy, I'm gonna tell Rachel to block her.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I know it. Savannah's the same way, because Savannah's like, oh gosh, she's like all those cows. She's like, we need to get cows at some point. I'm like, yeah, we're gonna hold off on that for a while. Like we got enough.
Yeah, we're trying to get this back. I told her if we get this back, there's about 5 acres here that I'm trying to buy. If we're lucky enough to buy that, I told her one day we'd at least get her a couple cows so I could move. My problem is, man, my OCD kicks in and all these animals drive me fucking nuts. And if I can move it, 5 acres to get it away from the house and build them their own separate barn, we'll look into it.
Yeah, that is one thing I will say. If you ever go into the pit area, Squirrel's trailer is the cleanest one in there. You walk in there and you got to take your shoes off. And if you walk in, as soon as you're walking out, he's chasing your fucking ankles down with the vacuum by the time you're leaving out of there. I promise you.
Yep, that's right. Heck yeah.
So
nothing wrong with that, Brian.
Yeah. Well, hey, man, well, we appreciate you coming on here and visiting with us. Been a lot of fun and
we know you're going to be back on with us.
Yeah.
You have too much fun with us not to come back on.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's been awesome. I appreciate you guys letting me come on the old Dirt Parlor, and we'll look forward to next time. Maybe we'll get lucky and win another big race, and we'll have a good reason to talk.
I like that.
There we go.
You want to thank your sponsors before you,
Yeah. It's always nice to recognize, Bob and Lisa Cullen, Thomason Express, Hoker Trucking, J&J Adventures, Algar Motorsports, KBC Graphics, Longhorn Chassis, Bilstein Shocks, VG Performance, Bass Livestock, Midwest Sheet Metals, Ted Brown Auto Body, and then obviously, my wife, my kids, and my dad. Couldn't do it without any of the people that help us. And if I forgot someone, I apologize. And we can't thank you enough for letting us do what we do.
All right. Go get them this week, buddy.
Yep. See you soon, man.
See you guys.
See ya. I'm Don Martin. I'm joined by Gordy Gundaker. And tonight on the Dirt Parlor, first of all, before we get into the racing that we saw last weekend, we're going to discuss our sponsors because we wouldn't be here without them. Starting with Steve Martin and Nutrient Ag, Jeff Hoker of Hoker Trucking, Bodies by Skinny, an official Longhorn dealer, Hot Rod Septic, Bo Popejoy, thank you so much, Reed Millard and Millard Family Chapels. And further ado, I just want to talk to Gordy. I know that your man JD got her done at the Topless last week.
Hey, you didn't thank my company, asshole.
Well, you're going to do that yourself.
Checker Customs, screen printing and embroidery.
And but going right into it, JD.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
what can you say?
I mean, the week before, the frustration after what we saw, and then what's he do? He says the guy is like ice water, man, in his veins, dude. He just puts it behind him and goes straight forward and just give me another 50.
Yeah, man. And obviously, his prelim night, kind of has things fall his way, with Cade and Garrett and that deal. But one thing about JD is he always puts himself in a good spot. That's what people don't understand. It's like, oh, well, you got lucky. It's not really luck in that sense because he was already there. He was kind of hunting them guys, but he's not one that's going to over push his stuff to make something happen. That's just not what he does. Maybe 10 years ago, probably, but what he has done as he's matured into this superstar that he is, per se, and winning all of these big races, these long races is what I see. You see a lot of what Scott did in his career in what JD does. He takes care of his race car. He takes care of his tires. You see how frustrated he was at Florence because he got his stuff tore up halfway through the race. And I think the frustration was that he knew that at that point his race was kind of over because he was tore up and it probably bent some things. And, he realized he wasn't going to be able to do what he did. And so then, he comes back, wins his prelim night on Friday, and then you start him up front in that race. And I mean, I know Sheppy took off and he had a really good car, but he just maintains and does everything right. And he searches around and changes his line. And you could really see towards the middle part of that race when all those guys were having tire issues, it almost looked like JD was super tight getting into one, but I don't think people realize he was making himself that way because he was protecting his right rear tire is really what he was doing. He was making sure he was straight and not shearing his right rear tire. And that's just what you have to do, especially, you take the circumstances of all those flat tires. He was not going to let that happen. He knew he had the car to beat. He knew if he could stay out front, he was going to win that race. And, I think even at the end, like he was really just kind of riding per se. And, Madden got closer. I'm sure Corey let him know that Madden got closer, and you saw him pick it up a little bit and kind of stretch his lead back out. So, yeah, he just, dude, I mean, there's a reason that he's won as many races as he has at Eldora. There's a reason that he's won all these crown jewel events, and he's done it over and over and over again. And just, what they have going right now is, they have a great team. They have great leadership from Lance and Steve Martin there, and Corey and Tyler gel with him perfectly, I feel like, and Cole that works there now. And so, it's really, it's got to be tough to watch. It's hard for the rest of the field because you're like, how do you beat him? How do you catch up to him during these 100-lap races? We're on the cusp of the World 100, and he's just picking up steam.
And we all know what he does there.
Yeah, so it's dangerous.
And the other thing is, you brought it up a little bit, the Kay Dillard and the Albertson situation, the slide job, and then, Dillard, my opinion, I like Cade, and I know it was a frustration thing out of it, but we can't intentionally wreck race cars.
Yeah.
It's a no-no.
Yeah, just and the thing that I kind of said about it is, I don't know Cade kind of hinted at it in his interview, the history of him and Garrett, and everybody's keeping tabs. I'm not, obviously Cade come also out and said that he didn't lift and that he was willing to do that, and I hate that. At the end of the day, I do understand where he's coming from, because when you get run over enough times, eventually you boil over. I think looking back at it now, I bet he probably wishes that he didn't, just because it ruined his weekend ultimately. And I don't know how bad it hurt his car. I mean, I know Garrett's, it looked like it was junk. But you don't want to see that at the end of the day, because really, we spend way too much time, way too much money, way too much effort into these race cars to just destroy them, I was telling somebody the other day, I said, really, they're lucky that a guy like JD was behind that, because if it's somebody that's not somebody who really pays attention, we could have had an 8-10 car pileup and somebody getting hurt, easily. And so, yeah, I just, I don't know. Obviously, there was a huge social media presence on that, and everybody voiced their opinion. I hate it. I don't.
I hate it for both of them.
Yeah, and it sucks. At the end of the day, for both of those guys, and the other thing too is it looks bad. I think it looks bad on us as late model guys, because that's the shit that gets spread across social media. That's the shit that everybody sees and goes, wow, look at these, idiots. This is what they do. They just destroy cars like a demo derby. And that's not what it is. And it wasn't, I don't think it was, what that, turned out to be, but it just, it doesn't look good by any means. And, in my opinion, I don't think Garrett did anything wrong.
I've seen worse.
Yeah. And, he was clear of him. And, I think, like I said, I think if Kay could go back and do it again, he probably just lifts a little bit there, or just checks up and almost lets Garrett go, and or just turns down a little and misses him, and they go on. But instead, you get two junked race cars that, and a bunch of tore up parts and people mad at each other. So, just sucks for everybody involved in that deal, and really late model racing.
The other thing I want to talk about is the flow of the race. At the beginning of the race, before we had the flat tires, it was a great show.
Yeah.
And then it just seems like once one flat tire, when B. Sheppy has it, and then they all start in, it just sometimes gets tough to watch.
Yeah. It was hard watching, every lap we have a yellow. Yeah. Here's another yellow. And we always know that happens at Batesville. It's happened for forever. It's part of the game, but I think it makes it worse, because normally you're used to seeing it when they got to run it in the daytime or something, and you're like, oh shit, here comes all the flats. But the other night it was just over and over and one after another. And the other thing that really threw me off was how watching these guys explode right rear tires the way they are. I can't remember. I'm not saying it's never happened, but I don't remember tires blowing apart the way they are. I know that the Rocket One team has had that happen quite a few times now. And I don't know if it's a compound issue, if it's a manufactured issue of how that tire is made, but I hope they get that figured out, because people don't realize how much damage that shit does when them tires explode the way they are right now, and they rip the decks out and brake lines and other things. And so I don't know what's going on there. I hope that they somehow figure out whatever's happening there. But I've seen it a ton. I watched Chad Simpson doing it at Burlington and Hot Laps earlier this year. So I don't know what's going on there, but hopefully we can figure that out. But yeah, it did really suck to kind of watch just a snoozer there for about 30 minutes of guys having to come in and change tires and being worried about exploding them and those things. It just kind of ruins the race, really, at the end of the day. That last green flag run was really good. Get Moran charging up through there, and Madden trying to get to JD, and I felt like the racing was good then. But you also had some guys that were on 100 lap old tires, and you had guys that had come in at lap 40 and got tires, which I guess sure it's going to make the racing good, because you got guys that are falling off 2, 3, 4 tenths a lap just because their tires are completely used up. So I feel like all in all, outside of that middle part, it was I thought it was a good race. I mean, obviously JD kind of got out there and wore them out, but outside of that, they were kind of moving and shaking all behind them.
And the other thing I want to talk about is it got announced, like Cody, some of the dome race this year, we're letting American racers in. I, for one, I think it's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd be curious as a racer how you feel about that. We've been talking a little bit about this, and it's nothing against Hoosier or anything. There's nothing wrong with competition. We got Longhorn and Rockets. We got Kistler race engines versus riders. Why not have 2 tire companies?
Yep. I think I think there should be 2 tire companies. Hell, I think there should be 3 or 4 if you ask me, because I think at the end of the day, Hoosier has ran up the tab on all of us. We were supposed to switch to these tires, and they were supposed to get cheaper, and yet every year we have a price.
They'll last longer.
Yep, and they've done not any of that. They've gotten more expensive. They don't last as long. It's just, I think it's good. I applaud Cody for doing it, and I hope that it works out, because I hope by next year that they've got American Racers got a tire that's just as competitive as what Hoosier makes, and you can go out there and pick whatever you want, and maybe it will drive the price of what Hoosier's doing down, and that will help our sport. That people don't realize that an extra $30-$40 a tire is a massive deal, when every 4th or 5th tire is another one. If you're at a little bit cheaper price, that shit adds up over the year, and it's hard on a regional. It's hard on everybody. It's not just hard on a regional guy or a local guy. It's hard on everybody, because when we're buying as many tires as we're having to now to go race just a weekend, guys are running these things on a national level one night and throwing them out the door and bolting on new ones because they don't keep the speed, is what I guess in their mind is what they're thinking. I don't have that privilege, I promise you. We race a lot of used stuff, but I was
going to ask you that.
Yeah, we definitely try to make the most of what we have. That's good, I guess you'd say. So, it would be good. I think competition's always good. We have 2 of everything and everything else we do. The parts on our race cars, the helmet manufacturers, seat manufacturers. The only thing we don't have 2 of is a tire manufacturer, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
And then we want to talk about our sponsors race with Jeff Hoker, Makokata. They pull it off. Huge crowd. Yeah. Great racetrack. I know you wanted to be there in the worst way, and Gordy had some rig issues with the fan, but I mean, and then they get to see a race like Brian Shirley almost getting it done to pass Bobby at the end of the race, and Bobby swept earlier in the year, and Brian, of course, swept the year before. So those 2 have definitely figured that place out. Yeah,
absolutely. And the racing just gets better at Makokata. The more we're there, more that allows Ricky Kai to test and tune on different things on the racetrack. And they had a great race. I mean, hell, if that yellow doesn't come out with 12 or 13 to go, I think Nick goes right on by Bobby at one point. Bobby was really struggling. Those yellows kind of bailed him out, because I think Squirrel was on a little bit softer tires than what the Nick and Bobby were, but Nick, it took him 2 or 3 laps to get going, and then he'd run Bobby down, and then a yellow come out. So right before that one, I thought Nick was going by, and then Squirrel snuck by on the last yellow, and thought, well, he's just going to run second, and hell, next thing you know, he's to his door. So it was a great race, and obviously I know they were disappointed not to get Friday in, but after getting all that rain to come back with a racetrack as good as it was great for those guys, and I applaud Jeff and his entire group. They always do a great job promoting races, but putting that big event up there at Makokata was really cool to see, and the fans coming out, and Hoker has a huge charity drive while they're up there. They do
the
toy drive, and people bring bikes and toys, and they load up a semi trailer full of stuff. So kudos to Jeff and his entire group on a great weekend.
And then this weekend we'll get into talking a little bit about. We got Port Royal with the Lucas Oil Series, so we got one phenomenal facility. And then Brian Shirley, our guest, because I know nothing about Arrowhead and raved about the facility that we got. So I'm anxious to see kind of what goes on at Arrowhead this week.
Yeah, I am too. I've seen some mod races from there. I think USMTS races there quite a bit, and they always seem to be really good. So I feel like that's going to be a good weekend of racing down there. And of course, Port Royal, always a gym. I feel like that every time they go there, it's always, hey,
it was just a great race last year.
Yeah, and it's just madness, and it gets slick, and you get some guys end up always pounding the fence, and other guys floating around in the middle, and just another racetrack in the middle of a town that produces great racing. That's what it is.
And then we're going to go right into sprint car racing and talk about last week. I think all the drama built up over the Donnie Schatz issue.
Yep.
Gets let go by Tony Stewart Racing early part of the week. Everybody we all knew he was going to end up in something, and then he gets the call, from Todd Quiring, and they put that deal together, and it didn't last very long. This week, they bang up a race car, but it just tells you also, Donnie Schatz wasn't going to sit long because bingo, Lundstra's right there saying, you know what, I got to ride.
Yep.
Pittman just made the Nationals in our car, so
Yep.
We're going to throw you in this one to keep you going. I want to touch a little bit on the Tony Stewart situation. I'm tired of all the bashing. I'm tired of all the negative. Bottom line is these two guys ran for 18 years together. And we, instead of breaking them down, I think we should be applauding the accomplishments of what they did.
Yeah.
I mean, the championships, the Knoxville Nationals, over 200 World Outlaw feature wins So instead of people getting on the keyboards and want to discredit Donnie Schatz and Tony Stewart, here, I applaud both of you for having the run that you had.
Yeah. And we talked about that the other day. There's not, I don't know many pairings that last as long as they did. Obviously, it came to an abrupt halt. I don't think either one of them wanted it to end that way. I wouldn't imagine they did. Tony was very vocal for the longest time that Donnie would have a ride until he didn't want to race anymore. And sometimes things change, and that seemed to be what was going on there. I feel like heads were butting a little bit, and instead of just continuing to drive everybody down together, just cut it off and sever ties and go your separate ways. And I don't by any means. Donnie's definitely not done. I think that the idea that he was falling off or something, sure, you could say performance issues, whatever it is, but I've watched him drive up through too many fields and features starting 15th, 16th, 17th and run second, third, or fourth, even, recently, to think he doesn't know how to drive a race car anymore. And obviously just a bad deal on Friday up there at Ogilvy, just goes in, and I feel like Morrell got tight in front of him, and he lifts kind of for him, gets tight and tumbles one. And the one thing they talked about was how, Donnie doesn't tear up equipment, and that was the reason for all of it. And of course, some shit like that happens. So I don't know. I don't know if I can count on my hand how many times I've ever seen Donnie upside down. It's been a complete rarity. So I hated that to watch that, and comes back Saturday with Lundstra and qualified good, was in the dash. And, Jackson just didn't seem to ever really widen out where they could kind of move around. They all just kind of got up in the top and were just hustling, and that makes it tough. But, it's a crazy week in sprint car racing, I can tell you that. A lot of moving and shaking going on, and guys in different rides, and, you have guys hurt recently, and it was pretty much a whirlwind of what the hell was going to happen next. And, I thought it was funny the other day. It was like I saw a meme of somebody saying Spencer Baston and Jason Myers showing up this week to social media thinking they were going to be big news, and then Donnie Schatz gets let go from TSR.
I didn't think of that.
It was pretty funny.
And the one thing about it too was Carson Macedo.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, everybody, I don't know if you notice, but his statistics in Minnesota are they're ridiculous.
Yeah.
And so he comes on the show, and let me tell you, folks, if you're a sprint car driver and you're listening, you want to come on the Dirt Parlor.
Yeah.
Because we almost guarantee wins.
Yeah.
I mean, Sanders pulls off a win. He's just on the show a couple of weeks ago, and Carson doubles up on the weekend.
You're either going to win or you're going to get hurt. So you get roll the dice, I guess.
You don't want to go there, but no,
shit.
what a great weekend, though, for Carson, and he comes out there. And then this weekend, though, we go back to Dakotas.
Yep.
And now Donnie's back, going to be back with big game, and then he's at home.
Yeah. Yeah. Red River Valley. Man, that's where he grew up cutting his teeth, and it'll be really cool for him. I'm glad that he was able to figure something out, just to not miss those races. I mean, that's a big deal for him. That's where he grew up, and those people support him like you wouldn't believe up there. And so I'm glad, just glad he's able to kind of keep trucking along for now until he finds a solid landing spot, hopefully for the end of this year and then into the next year. So he'll land somewhere. It's 100% going to happen.
Could you see him, Gordy, going back to owning his own team again?
I don't think so. I don't think he has any desire to want to do that. And it just, it's just a different day and age. It's a lot different than it was 20, 25 years ago when they were able to sustain their own team going up and down the road. It's just, there's too many moving pieces that you have to put together. You got to have a hauler. You got to hire all these crew guys. And, if he was going to do it, he's going to need to build a bigger shop. And, he's got both his nieces racing, and he wants to see them keep progressing. So I think his main focus at home is to keep the girls racing and progressing them. And there's enough people out there who want him to drive their stuff. And like I said, I don't know. I hope, he'll land somewhere solid. I'm 100% sure of it, because he's, like I said, for one, he's too accomplished not to. There's too many people who would truly, just being able to learn from what he's done. Gravel talked about it, just getting somebody in there like Donnie who can teach him things that maybe he doesn't know. And Cody Jacobs said the same thing, they can learn from Donnie to help out their program, because
that's kind of scary.
Yeah, it's scary for, because Gravel's he's in the midst of his prime here. So, he's got a long time to keep ripping along. So, yeah, it's a pretty crazy deal. And it'll be good to see where Donnie ends up and what he ends up doing, into the future. And like I said, I don't think it'll be long until we see him in Victory Lane again.
And then let's go into the high limit side. Naturally, the Phenom, Payday, Corey Day. On Friday at Tulare.
Yeah, it was impressive.
I mean, that kid just
impressive.
He's a fucking animal.
Yeah, dude, 100%.
And then we go into Saturday, and then we see one of the craziest finishes. And what a neat place, Placerville.
Yeah,
I mean, that's a bucket list.
Yeah, when it's right, man, they get it on up there. I've watched Turkey Night from there quite a few times when they go out there, in November, but with the midget series. But the sprint cars, they put on a hell of a race, and I'll tell you what, when watching Sanders run the curb there with the last 4 or 5, he was getting it the fuck on. He really was, and I think he realized at that point, fuck it, I'm gonna go try and win this deal, because if he wasn't just gonna run second. Although he talked about if he was gonna run second to anybody, it'd be Caleb Montgomery, but he did. He got up there and just said, throw him over the shoulder and let's get it on. And I don't think people realize how thin it was coming off of 4 when he split Caleb in the wall. And then he about stepped on it coming off of 4, and Caleb was almost able to turn back underneath him. So that was a great race, and pretty crazy, really. I think at one point they were saying that with 10 or 12 to go, whatever it was, that the top 10 had never won a national touring race or a high limit race, and it was a lot of California guys, and Brad ended up sneaking his way up through there. But it shows how hard it is to go out into the West Coast for these national guys and be competitive, because those guys out there, any of their racetracks, they know how to get around.
Well, we talked about Caleb Montgomery a little bit last year.
Yeah.
When we first started going, who is this guy?
Yep.
Then early in the spring, when we saw him on the high limit, he gained our attention again.
Yeah.
And now we've watched him over the weekend. Gord, is he the next one to come out of California to go national?
It would be hard pressed to believe he's not. At the end of the day, results speak for themselves, and he's been up front in what looks like, I'm not saying his team is underfunded, but he looks like he's racing on a budgeted team that maybe doesn't have all the pieces to be successful at some of these bigger races, but he's making a name for himself big time. You know, when you get out front and lead a national touring race for as many laps as he did, and I know he gave it away, and I'm sure he'd do anything to give it back, but it's impressive, and it's been at different racetracks. It hasn't just been one honey hole that he's just wearing these guys out at. So, yeah, I think you will keep hearing from Caleb Montgomery. People are noticing that. You know, there's team owners and guys out there who are looking for the next person, and he's not too far from a shot.
You know, and then we got to talk about Justin, and because of Aaron.
Yeah.
You know, we're hearing all the reports that Aaron's going back to the doctor to see what the doctor says. You know, hopefully we get to see him back out on, you know, he's a great friend of the Dirt Parlor. And I know me and you have a lot of fun with Aaron Reitzel and miss him in the seat. So hopefully to a speedy recovery, hopefully we get to see you. But, man, Sanders jumping in that ride.
Yeah.
And
we talked about it on here. You know, he was excited to go back out west because that's where he's cut his teeth and all the things that he knows about those racetracks. And he went out there and got it done. I mean, good on him for capitalizing, you know, in a moment and in a ride that he got put into, and not knowing when that ride's going to stop. As soon as Aaron's ready, he's out of that deal. And it's cool to see him understand that.
Absolutely.
But know that he's just taking, you know, he's making the most of his moment and doing what he can and to go out and get a high limit when you've been in that car three times.
What a team player.
Yeah. So that was really cool. And I'm, you know, super, super happy for Justin and the entire 87 team. Was really cool to see them. I'm sure that's almost like a sigh of relief to them. You know, I mean, obviously everything gets turned upside down when they lose Aaron and you're wondering what the hell do we do next? And they bring in Justin Sanders and they still find a way to win one and keep themselves in a championship battle for the owner championship.
And this week we go into Silver Dollar, you know, and, you know, got the Gold Cup. And I got to tell you, man, I'd have a tough time thinking that Corey Day is going to lose this thing. I don't. I've been watching some of the stuff because he was in the hunt, of course, the other night too as well.
Well, I mean, he was stellar there last year. So I mean, I think it's tough for. I mean, he's one of them guys. He's just got it. You know, it's just clear as day, I guess you'd say.
I like that.
It's you know, he can just mash on it. You know, I mean, hell, and if he doesn't get into Caleb, you know, we might not even be talking about Justin Sanders winning because he was right there and he tried to stay off of Caleb and it turned him around. But yeah, dude, he's just obviously out there is his bread and butter, and he can get it on. And I mean, looking back watching Knoxville. There was 5 times in that race that anybody else in that race car is probably upside down on their head. And he is over the cushion, just sawing on this thing, back in the gas, and saves it. And I have no idea how, because maybe for one, most guys wouldn't be able to put themselves in that position. But 2, to be able to drive out of it, it's really impressive. And there's a reason he's getting shots to go race asphalt and go, you know, probably will end up being a guy we watch on Sundays.
You know, and I've said this before, I feel like we got robbed. Because we saw this coming.
Yeah.
And we're not going to get to see what we could have seen, you know. But I mean, he's got to go where the opportunity is.
Yeah.
We all want that for
sure.
But at the same time, I guess I'm being a little selfish, man, because I was like, gosh dang, would I like to watch this guy in a sprint car every night of the day.
I know it. Yep.
I
know it.
And now let's talk about what's your kind of plans for the weekend.
We don't have anything this upcoming weekend. We're going to take the weekend off. Trevor was talking about possibly going to Arrowhead this weekend. We're gonna start doing our Eldora prep a little early. We've got Wheatland next weekend, Friday, Saturday. I think it's a comp cams race. It's a 5 and a 10. So we're going to kind of get ahead of the game for Eldora, get some work done at the shop, get a new body and all that stuff ready to go, and then go to Wheatland and hopefully, you know, go down there and try to pick us up one and then come back and get ready to go to the World 100.
Well, before we shut her down, I just want to say thanks to Brian Shirley for coming on the show tonight. Folks, Gordy and him had some great stories tonight from when Gordy first started racing. You know, he looks up to Brian, and And you could just tell Brian's got nothing but respect for you too. I had a great time tonight. I hope the people at home enjoyed it as much as I do. And I'll let Gordy shut it down. I'm done jabbering.
Yep. No, thank you guys for watching and tuning in. And sorry I missed last week. Was a little under the weather, but
Knoxville Blues.
Yeah. Yep. But thank you guys for tuning in. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube and Facebook, and just keep keeping up with the Dirt Parlor. And until next week, we'll see you guys then.
Thank you.